U.S. a whole lot on trade and those kinds of things?
Welcome back to NewsX World. I'm Kriti Mehta and you're watching Focal Length, where we get you a briefing on topics from across the world. Now, immigration enforcement in the United States is once again at the center of a national storm. The killing of a woman in Minneapolis by an ICE agent sparked widespread protests, legal challenges from the states, and intense questions about accountability, civil liberties, and the politicization of federal law enforcement. As states push back, public trust erodes, and immigration emerges as a defining issue ahead of the 2026 midterms. The role of ICE and its impact on American democracy is under unprecedented scrutiny. I'm joined now by Ernesto Castañeda, who's director of the Immigration Lab and the Center for Latin American and Latino Studies at American University in Washington, D.C. To discuss this, he is a leading scholar on migration, political polarization, and immigration policy in the U.S. Thank you for joining us, Professor Castañeda. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. Let's start with the first question then. The killing of Rennie Good by the ICE agent has sparked nationwide protests and sharp criticism, as you would know. How significant is this shift in public sentiment really for the future of U.S. immigration policy, in your opinion?
Yes, there is a big shift in public opinion. Before, people would give the benefit of the doubt to the ICE agencies, believing that they were actually going for people that deserved to be deported, that had a court order that ordered them to leave the country. But right now, the public has seen with their own eyes that they are targeting young mothers, even children, hardworking people, people without any criminal record, and people that they are finding randomly in the streets, rather than having a warrant with a name and a specific reason for removing somebody. So the mood has really shifted from previous decades. Most people now are against the way that the Trump administration is handling immigration in general. And most people are also very unhappy with how ICE is being comporting themselves and their mission. So this is going to have big implications. I think it's going to be a good opportunity when we have a new Congress or a new president to revisit again a real immigration reform that would include a path to legalize people that have been here for so many years and have been afraid of deportation for too many decades already.
All right, Professor, ICE operations using masked officers and unmarked vehicles have also raised civil liberty concerns. How do you assess the legality and ethics of these practices?
Yeah, that is a great question. We use people in civilian clothes when there is a concert or the president is giving a speech and there's a public, and there may be some agents that are hidden in the crowds for extra protection, right? But they are there for defensive reasons. Now the question here is whether this is legal or not. It hasn't been tested in the courts, but I think it should be. We have a recent example of an airplane that was used in the Caribbean, not too far away from Venezuela. Even after the removal of Maduro, they used the U.S. Military used an airplane that was not marked as a military plane to drop bombs on a small boat again. And then the media in the U.S. have been saying that that is perfidy, which is a war crime, not showing yourself as a military agency to attack the supposed enemy. So the question is whether ICE is doing something similar in U.S. cities by having people in civilian clothes or in unmarked vehicles without showing IDs, changing their plates in a way that is covert, but while they are aggressively profiling people and then taking them from the streets, whether they are citizens or not. There are many documented cases now of citizens that have been removed that way, and that is an attack of civil liberties.
Sure. Senior officials have also spoken of federal immunity for ICE agents. What are the constitutional and legal risks of such a statement?
Very risky. First of all, legally, it's not true that ICE agents have full immunity and they can do whatever they want in the streets. And because they're acting as federal enforcement agents, they have no limitations. That is not true. But indeed, the vice president and many others have said that publicly, which has translated in practice in ICE agents, Border Patrol agents, and others being given a carte blanche, an open reign to exercise excesses of violence and very aggressive policing when trying to get people who are in the country without documents, but also, as we have seen, in placating any type of civil disobedience, of protest, of peaceful confrontation with officers. They have been attacking particularly women and detaining them when it's clear that they are not undocumented immigrants. So it's something that is very worrisome, but cannot stay like this for too long. Eventually, the federal courts are going to have to intervene and put some barriers on what ICE can do. And Congress right now is also debating that, what type of freezing of their budget can be put in place until they improve the way that they are carrying out this supposed policing of immigration laws.
Sure. Professor, Minnesota and other states have sued the federal government over ICE actions. And in fact, today we saw how criminal investigation has also been invoked on Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Frey of Minneapolis. How historic is this level of state-federal conflict?
Right. In the United States, there is a lot of precedent of conflict between the states and the federal government. There's a big discussion for many years about state rights, which had traditionally been an issue that Republicans would espouse, and it's something that the states in the South had used even to sign into the Civil War, and then after the Civil War ended and they lost it, in order for them to continue enforcing discriminating laws, what we call the Jim Crow, and different apartheid type of laws that didn't give full access and full membership to African Americans for the most part, although also people from Mexico and Texas. So in previous cases, the federal government had even sent troops and invoked the Insurrection Act to protect numerical, political, religious, or racial ethnic minorities in different states of the country, where the federal government will guarantee those rights, even when the local governor or local politicians were trying to not follow law like the civil rights law. So there's precedence of that, but this is very different because in this case, and also there's also precedence when there were indeed insurrections, when people were trying to topple down a mayor, a governor, or maybe even trying to have a change in Washington through force. And then the federal government have intervened, sending troops. In this case, in Minnesota, we don't have that. The governor or the mayor of Minneapolis are trying to topple Trump using force. That's not what this is about. And also, they're not the ones attacking racial ethnic minorities, in this case, people from Somalia or Latin America, but they're protecting those ethno-racial religious minorities from the federal government. So it's in that combination, it is indeed a new thing that we haven't really experienced in the past.
All right, let's now talk about midterms then. Immigration is now a central issue in competitive races. How could this reshape voter priorities in the upcoming midterms?
Yes, it will have a big impact. First of all, a lot of people are going to participate. They are overall not happy with the policies of the Trump administration. So while in midterms, often we have a lower participation than in the presidential elections, I see that this November, a lot of people are going to actively participate.
Okay.
The other one is that the people that identify as Republicans has gone down from the high 40s to now high 30s. So a lot of people have stopped calling themselves Republicans. Trump still has a big support among Republicans, but less people are being identified as Republicans. The other one is more people are becoming independent, and the people that identify as independents and Democrats are in the great majority against the immigration, but also the economic and foreign fair policies of this administration. So it doesn't look good for the Republicans running for Congress and other offices in these midterm elections.
All right. Professor, now ICE deployments have previously been accused of political theater. What are the risks if federal enforcement is perceived as influencing the polls?
Yes, so they are trying to do the goal of massive deportations. So they're going to places where there's a lot of immigrants that happen to live. So there's a lot of spatial profiling, we could probably call it. But they're also targeting, the federal government has been targeting blue states for the most part to do these very flashy, visible operations. They have also targeted cities for the most part before that had African-American mayors, black mayors. Although recently they have also gone to, Minneapolis that has a white, but a Democratic elected mayor with Democratic majorities. So they're using also as a type of, they call it retribution or punishment for Democratic blue opposition governed territories that they argue wrongly that they are not complying with immigration law. And they have been targeting so-called sanctuary cities, which the only thing that they do is that the police, local police, won't inform ICE if they have somebody for a minor crime who may happen to be undocumented. They don't call immigration authorities. But if it's a major crime like a homicide, they will alert ICE and that person will be imprisoned and then deported. But the sanctuary cities have become an enemy of Trump and the Republicans, and we see that target. So it's partly immigration, partly political. It creates a lot of fear for the populations of immigrant background, even if they have papers in those cities. And that impacts the local economy. A lot of people don't want to go to work. They're afraid to go to public spaces, to go to restaurants, to send their kids to school. So that impacts the larger society. And we see that there's a lot of solidarity and a lot of support by neighbors who don't have an immediate immigrant origin, who also put themselves in the line between the neighbors and ICE. And we unfortunately saw the killing of Rene Wood in that way. But that hasn't intimidated people or or dissuaded them from keeping going to the streets, marching, blowing their whistles, etc. The opposite. More people are doing it and more people are getting organized. Now we see increases of ICE activity, for example, in the capital of Virginia, in Richmond. Now that we have a new governor, that is a Democratic governor, immediately you see a ramp up. So this is political. And yes, a lot of people are blowing the whistle that the Republicans and President Trump may use ICE and Border Patrol and this kind of pseudo paramilitary arm that is not part of the military, and it kind of answers directly to the White House, that they can use that to intimidate voters and to try to intervene in the elections. They may try to do that, and they think by intimidating people, some people that have family members who are undocumented may not vote. But the good thing with the United States is that most of the elections are run locally. There's not a federal body that runs elections. So there are not enough agents nationwide to block all the voting places or to dissuade the 300 plus million Americans that live in the US. So I think the elections will take place. There may be some incidents, but ICE won't be enough to stop the elections from happening.
All right, sure. I'd now ask my final question to you, Professor. Would you say that ICE has evolved into a political tool rather than a law enforcement agency, and what does that then mean for American diplomacy?
Right. This has big implications for American democracy, for relationships with other countries, because we're seeing that it's harder to get a visa, or if you are from particular countries, it's harder to get the green card. He's attacking not only undocumented immigration, but he's attacking H-1B visas and other programs that we have. Brilliant people coming from around the world, a lot of people from India, Southeast Asia, that are here legally, that are here working, and they have also become rhetorical targets of this administration. So it has negative implications for science, technology, business in the US, and from diplomatic relations. But it also is a threat to democracy, because not the rights in the Constitution apply to everybody living in the US, no matter where they were born. But the way that ICE is being implemented, the law, is terrorizing brown people. So that's a step back in a more inclusive democracy. And unfortunately, ICE is being used right now as an immigration enforcement. They are indeed detaining and deporting hundreds of thousands of people. But they also are being very political and very on the side of the Trump administration, and that you cannot contest it, protest them, be against them. So it's a double-edged sword. But the good thing is that the people are not happy with that, and the people are talking back at those at this expansion of force and expansion of political role that ICE is having right now that it has never had in the past.
All right, sure, Professor. Thank you for joining us and for sharing your insights on focal length.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
With that, viewers, it's a wrap on this episode of The Focal Length. For more international news and updates, as always, stay tuned to NewsX World.